Hello everybody and welcome to my second video. I finally cleared King 9.5 on the King of Crete and wanted to share my gameplay with some commentary on how I play my palace build. Heads up, I hope you're not disappointed, you're not hearing a female voice. I also created that VTube character for a university project and just wanted to test it inside an actual video environment. Before we begin with the build, my opinion on the King of Crete. I've been testing a lot of builds and I just don't know how you are supposed to make the King of Crete work on higher difficulties outside the palace build. I've seen other creators play mercenary builds in combination with the King of Blood, so you get so you can turn off the one-shot potential, but I still feel like that the King of Blood outscales us in strength and numbers so easily that, in my opinion, that build worked the best, but let me know your opinion, please. So what do we need for this build? Let's start with the perks. I'm going Nepo Baby, meaning the gold perk. I don't use the gold for the purpose of mercenaries or anything like that, but I want the gold for more rerolls possibilities and early shop flexibility in case we can reroll for goats, for example. The only unit I would recommend building, to be honest. The second perk is the Oligarch, which allows us to have more extra cards on hand. So even though the vault isn't like super huge value in the early game, in my opinion, it just allows us to have more cards and play more cards. And we kind of need more walls as sacrifices for the card Offering and Overhaul. Next one is Ingenious. That's absolutely crucial. I mean, it's the upgrade for the Palace. It allows us to go up to level 9 with the Palace. Absolutely mandatory for this build, as the Palace is our carry until mid-game, early late game. Also, I've picked 2 points into Politician just to have more options on the decrees, because we basically only want the decree that allows us to have more double the effect on buildings, or the bunker, which is okay-ish for the dispenser in the late game, or at worst have 9 free rerolls. Because the core concept of this build is we want palace upgrades, basically. We want to have our palace upgraded so much once per year, as a rule of thumb, so it can clear every round solo. On higher difficulties, let's say 9.4 and up, that won't even be enough. You need more than one upgrade per year, or you need to give it external buffs like overinvestment. But because of this, we also are looking for possibilities to get more than one upgrade per year, which there are only 2, and these are the Offering from the King of Spells and the Overhaul from the King of Progress. Also, the reason why we are looking for exactly those 2 kings as enemies, not if we need both of them at once, but at least one of them makes our life way much easier. Talking about kings, the King of Nothing, for example, has the wild card, which is somewhat useful. The Blacksmith in the late game. For the Dispenser in the early game, we don't need it at all. So let's say we only need 1 card there. As an enemy, we don't like every king, because some just are having too many units or too fast units. We need to, as we only have 1 damage dealer, it needs to be able to clear everything. So the King of Nothing is not ideal, but manageable. The King of Spells is, as said before, something we really want, simply for the reason of the card Offering, which can result in Overhaul and Clone cards, super valuable. The units are a large number, but at moderate speed, so also manageable. On the other hand, what's not manageable at all, and I hate it to my core, is the King of Blood. There are 0 cards for this build that we want. They have extreme speedy imp numbers. There is no way how we could clear this with the palace build. To be honest, if you have a King of Blood, just restart your round. The King of Nature only has the clone card, but the units are super slow and they aren't many, like probably a little bit undertuned, to be honest, in comparison to the other kings. but that's only from the perspective of this build, as I haven't played a lot of anything else. So, to be honest, the combination of King of Nature with either King of Spells or King of Progress is our best case option. The King of Stone is not a hard enemy for us, but it's super useless. There are 0 cards that we want and 0 possibilities to get our upgrades for our palace, so we just want to avoid it. It's our second least option that we want after the King of Blood, and at last the King of Progress. There is only 1 card we want, which is the Overhaul, but it's also super huge value since it stacks. And the enemy units, there are a lot, but slow, so manageable, but once you fall behind on higher difficulties, he will take life. So don't fall behind. It's kind of sort of a high value, high risk thing, but as long as you're doing your job, you're not falling behind. Coming to the early game, we basically, as said before, we want either the King of Spells or the King of Progress. The build options are a little bit different. On the King of Spells, we can place our palace and 2 level 1 walls, which allows us to sacrifice one of the walls in an offering for upgrades on the palace and still collect some gold on the side. On the other hand, on the King of Progress, we are not able to do this. We can place the palace, give it upgrades, place the vault. If we have no other option, we upgrade 1 vault, but we only place 1 vault. So that if we get an overhaul, we sacrifice the vault and get the upgrades without risk of upgrading anything else onto the palace. This is also the reason why we want to avoid building anything else. We don't want to build a beacon. Beacon is not scaling enough early on. We really don't want to have anything else but palace upgrades until our palace is maxed. We want to have our palace maxed by the time we reach the first shop. At least that works until 9.3. 9.4 and 5, that's not even cutting it anymore. So we need to reach 3 to 4 years ahead of the first shop, the level 9 on our palace. And then we need to start adding things like overinvestment and beacons. This kind of supports our stability for the mid-game. We want to get the decree that gives us double the effects on buildings, so our beacons give more attack speed onto the palace. By the way, I believe 2 beacons at level 1 have more value than 1 beacon at level 2 with the decree, since the decree only gives the tier 1 effect of the building. So you would get 8 instead of 6% attack speed per year. And then for the mid-game, yeah, our mission is to just find stability in having the palace, the maxed out palace scale better than the enemy troops do, as said by beacons and overinvestments. And then for the late game, our next mission is just to find Dispenser. We only need 1 building, the Dispenser. We need to place it as fast at this point as we can, so that it can scale. We need walls, beacons and overinvestments for the Dispenser, because our palace won't be able to take down the champion at year 33, it's just immune. We need the Dispenser to do that. And yeah, as I said before, we are working around buildings, around beacons at this point, and scaling. So we just want the Dispenser scaling. It doesn't matter if the Dispenser is at level 1. If you have the choice between a second Dispenser to upgrade it to level 2, or to get 1 more beacon or overinvestment, always pick the external buffs, as you will get an upgrade sooner or later for the Dispenser, but every year that scales helps way more. And at this point the Dispenser isn't carrying at all anyways, it's still the palace. The palace is, until the last few years, absolutely a carry. Once you see that there are actually numbers popping up on your Dispenser, you know it's scaling well, as it sort of starts competing with the palace. And that's basically it. Uh, Other cards that have somewhat of use in the late game is also the Quarry, but anything you just might need is beacons, walls, overinvestment, maybe blacksmith, maybe Quarry. Some additional tips: avoid units entirely, except the goats. As said before, the goats, if you get them and get a card that allows you to have more units on that field or on a farm, anything that like generates gold in that case, is great for the dispenser. But besides that, you should avoid units entirely, especially since you always have the King of Crete as an enemy, and thieves might jump to your weak units, one-shot it, and have to get closed faster than without units, so rather go for not having units. You should spend your golden rerolls. You should be greedy for the palace cards, but there's no need to be greedy for gold as we don't play any mercenaries. And yeah, that's how I play this build. I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Have a good one, guys.